YouTube, warbles on a lot here. Once again, wearing my stripy bright yellow glow in the dark fireproof hero suit. 30th of August, almost 3:30 in the afternoon. Temperature 14 degrees under the trees, 15 degrees in the clearing, 60% soil moisture profile. Generally light air less than 5 kilometres per hour. Wind is from the east where it's overcast, and if anything the sea breeze is due to kick in sometime in the next hour, so I can more or less guarantee light easterly breeze below 20 kilometres an hour. That's the prediction, and I reckon I can deal with that. Here we are on the 30th. On the 28th I had 2 millimetres. 27th I had 18 plus 7.5 the night before, so we're basically talking 27.5 millimetres 3 days ago. I've got to say, considering that the first fire permit expired on the 27th, and I decided to go and collect a second fire permit, so I'd have overlapping fire permits. It's starting to look as if collecting a fire permit like this one to replace this one, it's nearly as good as mixing concrete or running out of firewood when it comes to being an effective rain dance. Negative sympathetic magic. You want it to rain, get yourself a fire permit. That's the day the fire permit expired. Started raining there. That's the day I was ringing up to register and notify and otherwise activate the second permit. Right? Absolutely clear. Quite a magic spell enhancer, but it assists in attracting rainy conditions. During the first fire permit, I got 5 burns done, adding perhaps 1/3 of an acre to the 6.702 acres which I'd burnt during the notification period. Most of the burns in the notified period were in the otherwise green exclusion zone, so burn 20 there, what's that, 28 there as an example. You can see I've added the subsequent burns done on the permit. Tonight's theory is to lay a wet line from here up to here and across to there. So I'm going to use burn 21 and 23, 5, 8 and the dam to contain 2 sides of the burn. And the idea is to extend the blacked out or greened out perimeter further off to the east, so that any fire coming up through the tree covered country with a highway where people may throw cigarettes during an easterly breeze won't stop at the power line, because I haven't burnt along the power line easement, but that's probably the next step in the project. After I get this done, and this done, and this done, and this done, and perhaps even that, the next step will be to burn under the power line and just provide a fire break before it gets to my end of the property sort of thing, the end that I'm living in anyway. Okay, so what we're looking at now is burn areas 21 and 23, and those of you who are familiar with the layout of this place will know that that's basically running all the way down to the fence, so that should really be a safe backstop for a fire that's essentially going to be burning with the breeze pushing it down the hill. All right? Always try and work with what you've got in way of the environment. Now, as you can see, the water from last week's rain has put something into the dam. It's maybe 1/3 to 1/2 full. It's only a small dam. Reasonably well sited though. Over here we have What's this? Burn 5. Here's the unburnt country. This is burn 8. That's the demarcation between 5 on the right and 8 on the left. This is the stuff that I'll be letting the wind, ideally any easterly breeze we've got, burn down into there. But again, no wetline necessary, because if the wind does reverse, it won't be able to set that on fire. So here we have, whoopsie, the commencement of the wetline. Right, won't need much water across there. We have a backpack on the diagonal anchor corner. We have 3 full bottles of drip torch fuel. The theory will be to wetline along here, refill, and wetline along here. Once again, no prizes for noticing that I'm using wallaby trails to anchor the wetlines. Wetline along here, and I've paced these various lines. There we go. Just along here, even done a little bit of minor shape shifting of logs and stuff. Over to here, refill. I'm actually walking the wet line in the reverse direction that I'm going to be laying it, because I like to start where I'm going to start lighting and then come back with the very last bucket. Here we have the primary anchor point with 2 bottles of the drip torch fuel and the igniter and the bucket. And just so you can orient yourself, over there, running parallel to the fence, we have country that hasn't burnt since 1958 by the look of the bushfire clock, and on the other side of the fence it's bare bald sheep country. So if I can keep going basically along this edge line here, establish a decent sort of a blacked out area in here, then later on I can come back and do all of my tricks with raking tree bottoms and watering the fence lines, and I can, if I'm really careful, probably burn in from the fence and get through that 60 years worth of leaf litter and build up. But that's for some other day. At the moment, as you can see, plenty of rocks here, won't need too much of a wet line to stop that from accidentally burning into this. And believe it or not, I have actually burnt all that country to that side of my hand line. It just hasn't been done since 1998. So there's a fair bit of stacked up dead fuel in here. And if I can get all of this to greatly resemble all of this, then it's not as if on a burning, terrible breakout day you wouldn't get a fire crossing it, but it wouldn't be anything like the sort of fire you'd get if it's coming through a head-high, cured, stacked up 60 years worth of fuel in some places. So that's the theory. And I've discovered this Nokia Asher 302 seems to be capable of staying on pause for extended periods. So ideally, I'll be pulling the camera out and giving you little vignettes of interesting bits if I have time. We'll see. Maybe the camera will run out of battery and terminate the movie anyway, so maybe this is chow, maybe not. Either which way, you should get some idea of what I'm doing for the 31st burn, first one of the second permit. Okay, back again. I've laid the wet line, and as you can see, compared to the dry country I don't want to burn, there's a distinct colour variation on the wet line and the country that I do want to burn. So you can make a little bit of water go a long way. In this case, I used 90 litres for the entire wet line. And the glorious thing is, I laid the buckets out with the 90 litres in them, or 80 of the 90 litres, on Sunday last week, and it rained before I got a chance to actually do the burn. So I've since had 1,045 litres of runoff go into the top or uphill Chinese boy wall. So yeah, I've got a little bit of water to mess around with, therefore I can afford to do this. And there is a much lighter wet line along here. If I'm not getting the wind change to the west, that would be rather irritating. I don't really feel like replanting the burn right now. So there we go. That's the plan. Nothing else to do but light her up. Well, we have begun. So far, so good. Wind is from the correct direction. Okay. So far, so good. We've turned the corner. Nothing's gone wrong yet. Still doing all right. Just coming up on corner number 2. So far, nothing's going wrong. The wet line is holding pretty well. Well, I'm almost at the 3rd corner. Everything's still going quite well. Okay, we're at the 4th corner. Everything's still going well. Guess I'm not as big a fool as I look, eh? So far, perhaps, with luck. Right, now we do the bit which has a black zone instead of a wet line, because the wet line has done its job. Okay, well, I think that's working out pretty well. The black zone, together with the wind, is holding the fire edge just where I want it, and on the other side of it I've already got a black zone. So I guess I'll just keep going then. Bottoms up. Okay, so we're down to the bottom corner of the dam, and all that is burning in on itself. So far we got a good result, and we still have 2 bottles of drip torch fuel left. So I'm hoping I'll be able to fix any little pockets like that that get left behind when they don't burn. And here we have one little attempt at breakaway. And another little attempt at breakaway. Die, damn it. Okay, well, I will change drip torch bottles.